friends, let's start learning together today's Chumash. So today is Friday. So we're going to, wait, where is it? We're going to start from Friday's Chumash, the 6th section, and then from the 6th section, we will go to Shabbos's too. We'll do today's and tomorrow's Chumash together. Okay. Let's see where we're holding. Just went to the wrong page. Sorry, guys. Pressed the wrong button over here. Okay. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe Leimer. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Shamati es tlunais b'nei Yisrael. I heard the complaints of the Jewish people. Daber aleihem. So speak to them. Right? They were on their last meal. They just had finished their last meal. Tell them, Bein Arbayim, in the afternoon, Toichlu Basar, they shall eat meat. Right? In the evening, in the afternoon, Hashem's going to bring them meat. They want meat. They said to me, remember being in Egypt by the pot of meat. We would have rather died over there by the pot of meat. And that I'm going to give them this bird, which we'll see about in a minute, meat. And in the morning, they will get bread. And you will know, you'll clearly know that I am God. People keep on not trusting in Hashem. Keep on questioning their belief and faith and trust in Hashem. And Hashem says, you're going to know, you're going to see. Because what do they say? They say, basically, they didn't believe that Hashem could take care of them because they didn't have food. So they're like, what do you mean? We need food by tomorrow. How are we going to get bread? We're running out with our last meal. We should have died in Egypt better than coming over here. They didn't trust in Hashem. By Hiber. So Hashem says, you're going to see that it's going to be clear that I am Hashem, I am in charge of the world. It's a very powerful Chumash today, by the way, for financial belief and trust in Hashem. Really, that's like a huge element. One of maybe the biggest one. There's a number of very powerful stuff to this Chumash, but just having that faith and trust in Hashem that He will provide, it's a very famous section. It's the portion of the Mun. A very powerful Chumash today. So Vahiber came at night. Vatala slav, and a bird called slav, quail, came up. They flew into the desert wherever the Jewish people were. And it covered the camp. Covered the camp of Jews. Tremendous amount of this slav bird, this quail bird came. That was at night. So now they have unlimited amount of meat, at least chicken or whatever. That's the quail bird, which is a fatty bird, which is a good kind of a chicken, good kind of meat. I guess he calls it meat. And in the morning, lo and behold, they came up with a layer of dew around the camp. And basically, Rashi explains to us that Hashem made the bun, this bread, this heavenly bread, like in a box. So Hashem first made the dew come on the floor, then the man was placed on top of the dew, and then another layer of dew on top of it. Very neatly packaged, beautifully packaged by the creator of the world, prepared food. You didn't have to cook it, you didn't have to do anything. Hashem gave them, prepared. We're going to describe what it is. You're going to see now in the Chumash exactly what was this. You're always wondering, what is this manna? So the Torah really describes it to us here, what it was. Now, an interesting thing, the thing I saw, the commentators that explained Rashi, they said very interesting that it's the opposite of what normally happens in nature. In nature, dew comes from the sky and bread comes out of the ground. And over here was exactly the opposite. The dew, the tal, the dew came out of the ground and the bread came from heaven, the opposite of nature, of what normally takes place in nature.
Just add polish and overhaul. It's working, but refresh. You understand?
All right. So what happens? Vatal shichvas hatal, and then the layer of dew went up in the morning, right? Because it's like packaged. The manna is in between the two layers of dew. The top layer of dew goes up. The sun shines. It like dew in the morning. It goes up, melts it away, it rises. And on the face of the desert, on the floor, they see dak mechupas the thin covering came off, right? Because it was in a package. And dak kakfar, and a thin, like frost, is the way that Rashi is trying to explain it. So it's like, imagine like a thin layer of frost. So frost also could be like ice, like hard, but very thin. Seems like it was a very thin layer of this thing that kind of hardened. Al ha'aretz was sitting on the ground, right? Again, there was under it was a dew, so it wasn't sitting directly on the ground. There was a dew under it, and on it is sitting this kind of. It's going to be white. We're going to see soon. It's going to be white, but it's thin. Imagine like a frost. I guess that's the word he's using, like a frost that's sitting there on the ground. It's a little bit hard. It's very, very thin, and it's sitting on the ground. And they see as the dew rises from a top, as the sun comes out, and the dew rises from a top. All of a sudden, they see this very thin kind of creation that Hashem made. He says, like here with dew, has the dew go up? And he says a famous Rashi. I remember learning it always as a kid. In the morning, there's a lot of wetness on the ground, but the sun comes out and the dew rises back into the sky. He says, actually, Rashi says, if you take an egg, a raw egg, and you like drill a hole in it, and you put dew, you get the yolk and everything out of the egg, and you put dew in it, you can actually see the egg will rise with the dew because the sun will cause the dew to rise and the egg will go up. So the dew came up from the ground, right? Went upwards. It's a very thin layer, and it revealed mechupas. As how did we translate the word mechupas? Mechupas means a substance that's fine as frost, a very thin, fine, like frost-like kind of substance. Rashi is discussing how exactly to translate this. Kakfar, it's a thin. Sorry, it's mechupas means thin and very fine. But like far, like frost, is what this man thing looks like. Rashi is explaining the verse here. He says this word mechupas is only one place in the Torah. We don't actually find it anywhere else. Trying to figure out how to translate it. But here, Bnei Yisrael and the Jewish people come out and they see this thing, the dew rose, and they see this frost all of a sudden in the desert. So man said to his friend, everybody said to each other, Manu, this is prepared food. Why they call it prepared food? Because they didn't know how to articulate the name of the item. They didn't know what it was. They never saw this before. What do we call it? So they just called it prepared food. I guess man means prepared food. Moshe says to them, you're wondering what this is. He says, Hu alechem, that's the bread that God gave you to eat. This is what this is the miracle that Hashem told me to tell you that's going to happen. And that is what you see here. And they called it man because they didn't know the name. Man means just prepared food. Hashem, verse 60. This is the thing that Hashem commanded. Liktu mimenu, that you're supposed to now go out of your tents and collect the stuff. Ish lefi achlai, every man should collect the limited amount. Like you go to the store, they say quantity, limited quantity. There's limited quantity here. A man based on what he needs to eat. The amount is an omer. We'll see at the end of the Chumash today. He'll tell you exactly how much that is. It's quite a large amount. But one omer, the gugoylas per head. You could buy. You go to the store, they give you a limited amount based on how many people in your house. The omer, you could collect it free, obviously, based on how many heads are in your house. Mispar nafshei sechem, the amount of souls that live with you. Ish l'asher ba'alai, mantis tent. The kach could take the measurement of one omer of this thin, frosty, fine kind of stuff that you have here in the desert. Each only take a limited amount per person. Verse 17, Vayaskem b'nei Yisrael, and the Jewish people did so. Vayilkitu, and they collected Hamarbe, those who collected more than they were supposed to take. Vahamamit, and those who took less than they were supposed to take. And then verse 18, Vayamoidu, and then they measured Ba'omer, in their Omer measurement when they got home, they wanted to see how much is it. A miracle happened, that even the people that collected more than they were supposed to, maybe they made a mistake or whatever, they're gathering, or the guy collected too little, everybody ended up, if you put it in the measuring cup, it ended up exactly one Omer per person that lived inside your tent, that lived with you. Everybody ended up gathering based on how many people were in their house. That is the amount that they ended up collecting. Maybe when they went out, they didn't have a measuring cup, or maybe some people tried to cheat, whatever it was. The reality was it did not matter how much you collected. It didn't matter because you always ended up getting exactly how much you were supposed to get. Verse 18. Verse 19, sorry. Moshe said, Alehem to them, Ish al yoyser mimenu ad baiker. Rule number 2 now. Rule number 1 was collect, right? Only how much you need per one omer per person. But also no leftovers allowed. No saving for tomorrow. Hashem is going to give you every day, that day, what you need. He's not going to give you enough for tomorrow, right? Imagine today, it's a stressful life to live, but maybe sometimes Hashem wants us to live like that, hand to mouth or paycheck to paycheck. You're only going to have enough. Do not, and he's telling them clearly, you have to spend it all. You have to eat it all today. Do not invest and try to save for the future. This is all for today. Eat it all up today. Do not leave over. And guess what? Jews didn't listen. They didn't listen to Moses. Moses gave them clear directions. And they left over till the morning. They wanted to say something for tomorrow. Right? You can learn a lesson. I think someone actually asked me this question once a while ago. This is not a lesson against investment. This is a unique investment, a lesson for that time. And Hashem says, this is, I want to provide to you every day. Don't try to put away and start investing. And there were people who didn't listen and they did put away. They did put away. Ad Biker until morning. Vayarum toilaim. It became full of worms. Vayivash, and it became rotten. Rashi says you really first came rotten. Really should be the other way. The first came rotten, and then obviously after something comes rotten, that's when the worms come. So the Jews didn't listen to Moshe. Moshe said, do not leave it over. And of course, there were some troublemakers. And who were they? Rashi tells us who they were. The famous Dasan and Aviram, the 2 troublemakers who right when Moshe got the job on the second day, they were already there trying to overthrow Moses. And then when Moses came out of the palace again, and the Pharaoh gave them more work, Dasan and Aviram right away attacked Moses. You know, I said every rabbi needs a troublemaker that's trying to overthrow him. And Dasan and Aviram were, again, troublemakers, and they left, or they did not listen to Moshe, and they left over. And Moshe got angry at them, and the people that still are, after everything that we've been through, still are not trusting in Hashem. So it rotted, and it came to worms, because God said not to leave it over. It's not meant to stay over the next day. By Midbar, and it became the natural way of getting food. They started collecting it in the desert. Babaikar, every morning you'd go out, instead of to the marketplace, instead of going to Starbucks to get your coffee, you would go to the desert area, wherever the manna was, you'd go and collect your manna. Ish kafi achlai, each one according to his eating capacity, how much he needed to eat, he collected. So they'd go out, they go and collect right there, go free food from heaven, lechem, bread from heaven, go and they collect it. And what would happen with the leftovers, right? Because it wasn't exactly, did Hashem make a miracle and make exactly enough for the person? No. Hashem, there was leftovers. The sun would come up, Rashi, as the verse says, V'cha mashemesh, the sun heat would come up, the sun would rise, the namas, and it all melted. And Rashi tells something very interesting. The stuff melted, became hot, became warm, and it melted, and it turned into kind of like streams, or it went into streams. Where did that go? Where did this melted? So I guess the manna had a texture that it could melt. If you heated it up, it could turn into a liquid. Right there, it was like a frozen, frosted kind of hard thing. But if it melted, maybe it sounds like ice cream a little bit actually, frosted and thin, whatever. So what would they do with it afterwards? It would melt. So it turned into these rivers and streams. And what happened is the animals of the non-Jews would drink from that water. Eventually, it reached some other areas where the Jews were not, and the deers, the gazelles drank from it, and then other nations of the world would catch those animals and they would eat them, and they tasted amazing. And they realized they maybe weren't living right next to the Jews, but the rumor got out that something very amazing must be happening with the Jews, because the animals that drank the leftovers from the man tasted unbelievable if you had that steak afterwards. It was like freshly bred, not corn. They didn't eat, it ate the good stuff, and the animals actually tasted much better. So the stuff melted, and the nations of the world, through eating the animals that drank the stuff that melted, noticed how special Hashem was taking care of the Jewish people. So it goes a whole week. Sunday this happens, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was. Not sure what day in the was started. And it comes to Friday. Lok to Lecha Mishnah. And all of a sudden a miracle happens. They went out to collect the Omer. They come home and they have Lecha Mishnah. They had 2 challahs. This is why we have 2 challahs on Shabbos, exactly because of this verse right here. They see that instead of having 1 Omer, They have 2 omers. All of a sudden, they collected one. They come to the kitchen. They come to put out the food. Something doesn't make sense. They have 2 omers. For every person in the house, the guy had 10 kids. He has 20 omers now. So the leaders of the tribes ran to Moshe. This is a problem. There's a mess up here. To be good with Moshe, and they told Moshe that there is an issue here because for some reason, every day they get an omer, and now they have 2 omers, right? And that's why we have 2 chalas to commemorate this amazing miracle. Rashi also says that not just was it lechem mishnah from the word meaning double, but also meshuna. It was amazing. It had the good smell, like the aroma of Shabbos. I believe here comes the mitzvah that you're supposed to have challah. There's a special thing for women to bake, or for the house to bake challah. It smells amazing. The man in the desert smelled amazing. It smelled like Shabbos. It was a whole different level. So they ran to Moshe and said, Moshe, what's going on? Now, here's a little bit of a problem for Moshe here, because if we could say that, why? Because God had told Moshe originally to tell the Jewish people that they're going to have, I believe this was yesterday's Chumash, they're going to have man, and on Friday they're going to get a double portion. And the reason they're getting a double portion is because it won't fall out on Shabbos. But from the verse telling us now that they ran to Moshe asking him shows that Moses never taught the whole message to the Jews. He only told them man's going to come. He never told them about Shabbos. He didn't tell them right away. I guess Moses waited till Friday. And now they're coming running to Moses. Moses didn't tell them if the manna landed on Friday morning. And this is a little bit of a problem for Moshe, because Moses should have, according to Rashi saying here, he should have told the Jews right away. He shouldn't have waited till there was an issue and then said, this is why you have 2. And therefore Moshe was punished later on. Another interesting location for this. Why was Moshe punished? Because God's going to say later on in verse 28, he's going to say, how long are you sinning? God's going to be very upset at the Jews soon. But he's not going to say, how long are they sinning? He says, how long are you sinning? But Moses didn't sin. But here is the sin that Moses did, by Rashi saying that Moses should have told the Jewish people the whole message that Hashem gave him. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't. And that is why Moses himself will be punished not for the sin that the Jews are going to do later on, but for not relaying exactly the full message that Hashem told Moshe to say. So anyway, continuing right along, so they came to Moses and said, Moshe, we got a double portion. So Moses said to them, Hu Asher Dibur Hashem. Hashem had told me exactly this. Shabbos Kodesh, this holy day of rest day of Shabbos is coming. Now, if you remember in our class, I'm just adding this, I believe this is correct. In Mara, they were taught about the mitzvah of Shabbos. They learned about the holiday of Shabbos, right? Just at a previous stop, at the stop in Mara. So Moshe says, tomorrow Shabbos, anything you want to bake in the oven, or anything you want to cook, you cook today. You only cook today, and you eat and you cook whatever you want. So, and everything left over, you save until the morning is left over, and you'll eat it tomorrow morning. You put it away in a box, you store it, you put it in the cupboard, put it away, and you'll have it till morning, because Hashem does not want us going out on Shabbos to collect, because a Jew does not work on Shabbos. Here's where we see the mitzvah of Shabbos from here. Jew does not work on Shabbos, and therefore you will not be doing the work now. Verse 24, they left it over until the morning, right? Because they're allowed to now. Moshe commanded them, and it didn't rot. Veriva didn't get into worms. Didn't get full of worms. All of a sudden, the first time when Dasan and Abiram left it the first day, got rotted and got full of worms. But now it's not, because Hashem wants us to collect double. Hashem blesses us with double on Friday, so we shouldn't have to work and collect and do anything on Shabbos. We prepare for Friday for Shabbos. But Moshe tells them, and here comes a famous verse, which we learned to have 3 meals on Shabbos. Actually, why we have 3 meals comes from this verse. Ichlu hayoim, Moses tells the Jews in the desert, eat it today, ki Shabbos hayoim, because it's Shabbos today. Second time it says the word today. Shabbos today la Hashem, to God. So it was the next day Shabbos. Moses says, eat it today because it's Shabbos today for God. Hayoyin lisim soba, so that you will not find it in the field. Don't go look for it in the field. Don't go look for the manna in the field. So Rashi says, what happened? He says, back into the story. He says the Jews woke up in the morning. Every morning, that was the latest thing. They'd get up in the morning, they go collect their food for the day, the rations for the day. Right? So all of a sudden they woke up on Shabbos. And they tell Moshe, should we go out? Every morning we've been going out. That's been already. They haven't kept Shabbos yet, perhaps. There hasn't been a time where they kept, or they never needed to collect food. This is the first time. So he says, Moshe says, no. Don't go collect. Eat what's in your hand. That night, at the end, I guess, of Shabbos day, they came to Moshe again, and they said, should we go out? Or I guess maybe that was Friday. Maybe, I'm not sure. So he says, no, today's Shabbos. And he saw they got very worried. Yeah, it was Shabbos later on in the afternoon because they were very worried because all of a sudden the month stopped coming and they thought that it's going to stop coming. So that's why he said this verse to them. He says, today is Shabbos. That's why you're not seeing it. It's not that the system stopped. Today you're not going to see it. Don't worry. Tomorrow, Sunday, Hashem wants to provide for you. You're going to go to work again, or you're going to go collect, and there's going to be for you there. Sheish es yom til ketu. 6 days you should collect it. By the seventh day, Shabbos lo boy. It's Shabbos. You will not find food there. You're not supposed. Jews not supposed to go collect on Shabbos. It's not going to be Monday there. And Rashi is saying you already told us that there's no Monday. It's including also Yom Kippur and the holidays. That they're also the month which will last for many years to come. Will not be on Yom Kippur. Will not be on the holidays. The month will come down. Obviously, Hashem is going to provide them enough for the holidays to last for the holidays. And it was on the seventh day. They went out on the nation to collect. So people again made trouble. They went out to collect on Shabbos, and they didn't find it. Hashem said, I told you not to go. So God says to Moshe, what is wrong with these people? Ad ona, how long mi antem? Are you going to refuse lishmar mitzvah to stop my commandments and my teachings? Yeah. So Hashem says to Moshe, what's wrong with you? Now, what did Moshe do wrong? So Rashi says, when you throw out the thorns next to a cabbage, a lot of times you throw out the thorns, the cabbage gets thrown out too. So the good people suffer also. So Hashem tells Moshe, what's wrong? How much times what's wrong with you people? What's wrong with the Jewish people? I just told you there's not going to be. Why are you going out and checking? I just lost the screen. Is anyone on here? I don't see any faces. I don't know what that happened. 1 second, guys. You were just on. Evan and Ira, are you guys on? Are your screen on? And Gershon, is your screen on? Hello, can anybody hear me?
שוקי.
אהלן אבי, מה נשמע? מה שלומך?
מה אתה עושה?
אני איתך פה בשיעור תורה, מקשיב. מה קורה? How's the weather over there by you guys cold also? Like by us?
מאוד קר, כן, מינוס.
You're not going skiing today?
No. זה...
Look at me. I just came back from supermarket. Look how I dressed. All warm up, you know?
And it's crazy.
I'm sure by you guys it's even colder, you know?
Yeah, Boston. Yeah, it's negative.
Very cold. Yeah, I believe it.
מי מבשל? אתה בבית?
אשתי מבשלת.
יש לך...
I'm just do the cleanup.
הבנתי.
Hi, Rabbi. תודה, כל טוב לכם. Rabbi, you're on mute. You have to take it off mute.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
Good.
Thank you. They pulled off the internet here in my house. They shut off the internet upstairs, so we're back on there now. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's continue. Where were we? Here we are. Okay. So he says, so Hashem says to Moshe, how long are the Jews going to question and test me, right? I told you not to go out on Shabbos. I told them there's not going to be any food there. Why are they going out? So he says,
Rabbi,
yeah, Lisa,
I think you're sharing the wrong screen.
What does it say? Oh.
It was just a prayer. It's a prayer from earlier.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Can you see the Chumash now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We're good now.
So Ra'u, he says, verse 29, Ra'u si ki Hashem nasan lechem HaShabbos. Look, Hashem gave you the holy day of Shabbos. Al-Kain, and because of that he doesn't want you to work on Shabbos, right? He doesn't want you to collect on Shabbos. That's why on Friday he gives you lechem yamayim. He gives you double. Hashem makes you earn double on Friday. Shavu ish tachtov. Everyone should sit in their place, remain in your place. Al yetze ish mimkoimai b'yoyim hashvi. Man should not leave his place on the seventh day. On Shabbos, a person should not leave his place. So Rashi says two things over here, a couple of things. So first of all, you yourself see that Hashem made you a miracle, that you'll get double the amount of food on Friday. So you should already be convinced. It should be convinced to you that you shouldn't not work on Shabbos, because look how Hashem's giving you double. So it's clearly from God. It's not a made-up thing that Shabbos you shouldn't collect. It's clearly from Hashem. Now, what should you do? Sit in your own place. Don't move around. Stop moving around. These people like to move around. He says, no, you should live in your own place. Now, he brings an interesting law that it's a question if it's a biblical law or rabbinic law. It's an interesting law. It's a little hard to see it in America but in Israel, like there are a lot of towns that are towns and then there's like desert, like there's towns and then you go, it's not like one town next to the other. There's like a big desert or whatever, nothing, or forest or whatever, separating one town to the next from each other. Miriam, I can't teach with you when you come in, okay? I'll hold you soon. Let me finish learning and then I'll hold you. So he says that you're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave. Oh, Josh is saying he wasn't here for the internet. That's funny. You're not allowed to leave on your town, your city. You have to stay in your city. You have a maximum. Okay, please go upstairs. Thank you. I don't know where it is. I'll get it for you later. Okay, good. So you're not allowed to leave your town 2,000 amas. So let's see, it's about 3,000 feet. Maybe a kilometer. You have to stay in your town. You can walk within your town as long as there's houses next to each other, but you can't leave that place. A person that Torah wants people to stay in their home, stay in their area, in their city, in their towns for Shabbos. So he just says here that that's actually a rabbinic law that you're not allowed to. Rashi says it's a rabbinic law that you're not allowed to leave 2,000 amas, but there's some implication from it from the Torah. Some people want to argue, but not like Rashi, that it's actually biblical from here that you're not allowed to leave your town on Shabbos, even if you're walking. Even if you're walking, you can't. However, if you do go the 2,000 amas, you go maximum how much you're allowed to go, which is about 3,000 feet, about a kilometer, you still always have your own space, which means like, however, if you lay down and stick your hands out, that takes up about 4 amas, about 6 feet. That is a place that even if you get to the furthest you're allowed to go and now you can't walk any further, you could still walk within however much space your body takes up. If you lay down on the ground, stuck out your hand, which would be 6 feet, 4 amas, you could still have that space. Verse 30. And the people rested. I don't know if this was the first Shabbos that they kept. They're ready before the Torah was given. They're already learning the laws and the mitzvahs, and they're keeping Shabbos, and they're not going out and collecting food on Shabbos. And what did they call this food, this new invention, this new thing they got? They called it man. God love it. And here's what it tasted like. It looked like coriander seed. Rashi says like a circle. It was circle-ish. But coriander seed seems like it has other colors. I looked online before. I see there's like a greenish coriander seed. But Rashi says, although it was circle, like small circular things, which is a coriander seed. Not that I've seen it before. I just looked on Google. I found some pictures, but it's also lava, and this one was white. So it looked like this frosty, thin thing was white, circulish seeds like coriander seeds. V'tamoi, and what did it taste like? Very interesting, right? The verse says, "Kitzapichas bidvash," like a honey, like dough that was fried in honey. Okay, it's like a wafer, like a sweet kind of dough, like a dough that was fried in honey. That is what the stuff naturally tastes like. I know there's different madrashim. Someone brought it up yesterday. I think that it tasted whatever you wanted it to taste like. Maybe that it had some natural taste that it had too. And Rashi's telling us that it was like, again, it was a thin frosted layer. We learned now the verse is telling us it was circulish like a coriander, small seeds like circular seeds like coriander seed, and it was white like, and the color was white, and it tasted naturally like dough that was fried in honey. Sounds delicious. And anyway, that is what the verse is telling you what the man looked like. But Moshe said, Zadavar, this is the stuff of Hashem that God said, Maloi ha'omer, fill up one omer, mimenel and mishmat. Oh, but now what we're going to do something interesting, Moshe says. We want to remember, this is a pretty cool miracle. We want to remember it forever. So Moshe says, we're going to keep a copy. We're going to keep original. We're going to keep a part of the original. Imagine if we could see this today, that would be really cool. Maloi ha'omer, mimenel, fill up an omer of it, l'mishmeres, as a safeguard that they say for generations, that people will see the bread. This is the food that I gave you to eat by Midbar in the desert, by Tzias to live in Egypt. And they had it for many years to come. So they put it in a jar. We'll see soon. They put it in a jar. And Rashi tells us that in Yirmiyahu's times there's going to be a generation called Jeremiah. Yirmiyahu will live in a very sad time of the Jewish people when the Beis Hamikdash will be destroyed. And people will question Hashem and so on. And over there it says, he says, look and see. You could see, imagine, you could see the man. Imagine today like a Jew struggling with Parnasa and questioning if he needs to work on Shabbos because it's a challenge sometimes. How am I going to feed my family? And you say, look at the man. Imagine they could show you the man. So they seems like they still had it in those days. The original man, it's hidden somewhere today. I believe we still have it in the world somewhere. It's hidden. And the message is God could provide. You know, people struggle. I know many people struggle with the Shabbos thing simply because they're afraid financially. And that's today's Chumash. Today's Chumash tells you that Hashem, it's all up to God. God is the one who decides how much you make, and that's the extremely important, powerful lesson, especially for today's day and age that we need to learn from that. So they want to keep a part of the month. So Moses tells Aaron, he says, take a jug. It was an earthenware jug. He says, take it. He's saying Shama Malay Omer and put in it an Omer measurement inside there. So it must have been quite a large measurement. And put it in front of God, meaning in the Aron. So obviously, this didn't happen yet. This is the future because they did not build the ark yet. It hasn't been built. We'll learn about it later on. So obviously, it's talking about it now because the topic is Naman, but it's going to happen later on when Moses will go to Aaron, the high priest, and say, "Listen, get a jar of the stuff, put it away in front of Hashem, keep it with the ark, with the holy ark, the mishmeres of the Resechem for safeguard for generations. You're going to keep it." So in the ark, by the way, was besides the tablets which the Jews got from Moses, also is going to be a jar of this man, so they always prove it to the people this great miracle that happened. Verse 34, Hashem God commanded Moshe, and Aaron deposited it before the tablets to be preserved. If only we can find that, maybe we will, and share it, have it today. Bnei Yisrael and the Jewish people, Achlu Asaman, they ate it for how many years? For a very long time. Arboim Shana, this is what they're going to eat for 40 years. Until when? Adboyim El Eretz Neishaves, until they come to a habitable or inhabited land. God's going to need to take care of them until they come to a cultivated area, which is livable. So it's going to have to be for a very long time, for 40 years. Now, they're going to have them on. Rashi says it wasn't really 40 years because we know for the first 30 days, the man didn't come down till they finished their snacks, the matzah snacks that they left over. So how come it says 40 years? It's not true. Torah seems to be saying something that's not perfectly true. It's 40 years minus, it's 39 years and 11 months because they did leave, I guess, exactly on the 15th of Nisan, and they arrived 40 years later exactly on the 15th of Nisan. So, but we know that the man didn't come down till 30 days later. So Rashi says, very interesting, that the matzah that they took out, the crackers, the food, the doggy bags that they took with them out of Egypt, the matzah tasted like the man. It tasted like this dough that was soaked in honey. It actually had a very similar taste, very interesting. So the snacks that they took with them, Hashem provided at the same taste, this delicious taste, continued being for the next 40 years. You'll see when we get to, they're going to complain eventually. They want a little bit of different kind of food, but this was the texture, and this is what they ate for breakfast and lunch and breakfast and supper every day. How long did it last for? So Moses will pass away, as Rashi explains, before the Jews crossed the Jordan. Before the Jews crossed the Jordan, at that point, the manna will stop. However, there will be enough manna to last them till miraculously the Jordan River is split for them. Joshua takes them over the Jordan River, and then when they get to Israel, that's it. The manna will run out, whatever they had left, and they're going to be already in Canaan, in the land of Canaan, in the land of which they're going to conquer in Israel, and that's it. They're going to have to start plowing and doing whatever they need to do in order to provide for their family. Now you want to know how much is the Omer? We keep on talking about that. So Rashi gives you all the math of those days, the kind of weights and measures that the Torah or the Talmud uses. So I'll just read it for you. It's interesting, just the words, and then I'll give you the end result in a minute. So the ephah was 3 sa'as. Okay, so there's another measurement called 3 sa'as. The sa'ah, each of those 3 sa'ah is shisha, or the 3 sa'ah equals 6 kabin. Okay, which equal arba lugim, which equals sheish beitzim. Each lug is 6 eggs. So if you want to, we all know about the size of an egg. There's a debate if the eggs are the same exact size today. The chickens, the average chickens lay eggs same as today, but let's just say it's close. Comes out to be 43 arboim b'shleisha, 43 eggs, and a fifth is how much the omer was. So they would collect per head per day, besides at least some number that we know. I'm sure there's also modern day numbers for the stuff, but at least what Rashi's telling us, besides of 43 eggs, is a lot. I guess that's a good amount. Imagine you eat 43 eggs in one day. It's a lot of protein to eat. I don't know exactly what this was, protein or carbohydrates, whatever it was, or ice cream. Sounds a little bit like ice cream to me. Ices maybe, and that is what they ate. That was per head for each person. And that is the end of the section of the month. But we're not done yet. We still have a number of very interesting stuff in today's Chumash, because we're going to go into Shabbos' Chumash. Vayisu kol hadas, so they were at Midbar Sin. This whole story took place at Midbar Sin, and they continue and they move on. Vayisu kol hadas Midbar Sin. They left that area where this whole story happened. The Masayim, out in their formation and their travelings, all the Jewish people, hundreds of thousands, millions of people are traveling. Al pi Hashem, by the word of Hashem, right, with the cloud leading them, and the fire, vayachnu b'Refidim, and they come to a new city called Refidim. And before we go, I'm going to try to look up the map quickly for you guys, just to see a map of the traveling. But now there's a big problem. Remember, there was the wells earlier by the other stops, but here there's no water for the nation to drink, and Hashem is testing the Jews again. See how they ask for water, how they're going to request it. The people quarreled, they fought with Moshe. They didn't ask nicely. And give us water. We'll drink. Moshe says, why are you fighting with me? Why are you testing God? In other words, Hashem will provide. I guess this is another powerful lesson for us. Stop questioning if Hashem will provide. I feel like it's talking to me. Have faith, have trust in Hashem. Keep on questioning God. Could God provide you with water? I guess they ran out of water. And they were very thirsty there. So instead of asking nice, they said, God, provide. They need. I guess that's what we need to have in Hashem. You need to go to the shul. God, please provide. He's going to provide. Don't worry. You just need to ask nicely. The Mayim and the people, they were thirsty. And the people complained against Moshe. And they said, again, just keep on saying these statements. Why did you take us out of Egypt? You're a bad tour guide. You're a bad leader, they tell him, God forbid. To kill us. Vesbana and the children, Vesmikna and all our cattle, Batsama, we have all this cattle in thirst. This is why we came all this way just to die in thirst. What's going on? Yitzchak Moshe Hashem, and Moshe cried out to Hashem. And Moses says to God, Lemar Ma'asa, what should I do? I said to these people, God, what do you want me to do? Oid Ma'atus Kaluni, a little more of this, and they will stone me. Moses was actually afraid that the people were holding him up, saying, look, you're the leader here. You have to provide for us. And Moses felt his life was in danger. Can you imagine that? And Moses tells God, he says, God, they're going to stone me. So God says to Moshe, Avar lifneim, this is what I want you to do. Avar lifneim, go before the people. the famous miracle of the rock. But by the way, everybody knows about the rock 40 years later, right? This is the beginning where God actually is going to tell Moses, believe it or not, to hit the rock. God's going to tell Moshe to hit the rock. And take from you, from the elders, Moses, go before the people, go before the nation, and take with you the elders of the Jews, some of them at least, and the staff, the famous staff, that you split the river, which you struck the Nile. Maybe it's talking about the plagues that you made of the Nile River. Take that staff, and go with that staff. So Rashi says, why is God telling Moses to take the staff to do this next miracle of giving the Jews water? So two things. First of all, he wants all the Jews there to experience the miracle. So they shouldn't say that there were fountains there before. In other words, the Jews will say, oh, Moses found the fountain. No. Everybody come here, watch this miracle take place, so you know that there wasn't a pre-fountain here before. Number one. Number two, he wants to show something interesting. He says that the people were angry at the staff. Why would the Jewish people be angry at the staff? Because this staff has caused a lot of damage, wreaked a lot of havoc. The 10 plagues came because of it, right? Pharaoh was smitten by it, and the Egyptians, all the 10 plagues. So they were convinced that it was only evil that the staff was doing. So Hashem wanted the Jews to see that the staff is not an evil staff. It's just doing Hashem's will. And here it's going to bring water, obviously very needed water in the middle of the desert for the Jewish people. So he takes a staff. Hashem says, I will stand before you there on the stone, in Chorev, Vikisa Batsur, and you'll hit the stone. Inside the stone, and water will come out, and the nation will drink. Moses did that. To the eyes of the Jewish people. So Hashem wants everyone to see, and Moses does this miracle in front of all the Jews. Rashi says, it doesn't say he hit the rock. He hit in the rock. He did a good bang on the rock. Rashi tells us that from here we learned that it was a very unique staff, that this was no ordinary staff. It was made of a special substance called sapphire, he says. So the staff that Moses had wasn't just a stick. It was a fancy, heavy, strong sapphire thing that when it hit the rock actually got split from the staff. So he smacked the rock with the sapphire staff, and the rock split open and water came out. And what did they call that place? Masu Mariva, testing and fighting. Because of the fight that the Jews caused. It wasn't just like they asked for water. They didn't trust Hashem could give them. They basically told Moses, you took us here to die, and they started arguing with Moses. On the Seisim as Hashem and the Jewish people tested Hashem, Lamer saying, Ayash Hashem b'kabein is God with us or not? And to finish with another wild story before we conclude today's Chumash. At that moment, Amalek came, Vayalachim in Yisrael, to fight the Jewish people, Refidim, in that place of Refidim where they were. And they got attacked. Now, who was Amalek? Rashi doesn't tell us here, but I'm just going to share with you. Amalek was the great-grandson of Yaakov. Yaakov told his son that he hates, great-grandson of Esav, Esav told his great-grandson that you have to kill the Jews. No matter what you do, the job and mission of Amalek is to destroy the Jewish people. And we know what happened. The Jewish people were then slaves. So the first opportunity Amalek had, they're coming here and they're fulfilling the wish of the great-grandfather Amalek to come and destroy the Jewish people. The Rashi says, though, a different part of the story to understand why this happens right here, right now. They get attacked. Rashi says, very powerful story. Hashem says, I'm always with you. Whatever you need, I'm here to give you. Just ask. Sometimes you just have to ask. You need water, ask for water, I'll give you water. What's this quarreling and arguing and demanding and saying terrible things? And they said, is God here or not? That's what they said. This is Hayash Hashem b'kabein hamayim. Is God here? Just said that. Is God here or not? Right? That's the end of verse 7. Very powerful words. Is God in our midst or not? What's going on? And Hashem says, this is what happens. Here's the example. A person has a son on his shoulders, and he goes on a walk, goes for a journey with his son. And the son sees something is on his father's shoulders. He sees something on the ground he likes. He says, Dad, can you pass it to me? Give it to me. His father goes, he gives it to him. Happens a second time. Dad, can you give me that thing on the floor? Yes. He picks it up, gives his son on his shoulders. A third time it happens. He picks it up. They continue walking, and they meet another person on their walk. And the guy tells the kid, he says, "Where's your? Did you see your father? Do you know where your father is?" He says, "I have no clue where my father is." So the father says, "What? I've just been carrying you around and giving you food." So the father throws him on the ground, and the dog comes running, and the dog comes and bites him. And now all of a sudden he finds, "Dad, help me, save me!" He forgot where his father was. His father was taking such good care of him. Everything he wanted, he gave him. The kids forgot about his father. So Hashem is saying, "Here I am doing everything for you, everything you need, literally." And instead of just asking for water and saying, "Hashem, could you please provide for us? Because I provide for you," you go and attack Hashem. You forgot that Hashem's there. Hashem's doing everything for you. So Hashem's going to help you remember who he is. It's just like when the dog comes running and the kid that needs his father, all of a sudden he remembers his father. He needs his father's help and he turns to his father. So Amalek, the bottom line is Amalek attacks the Jewish people and feed them. And we're going to learn about this nation of Amalek. This is the progeny of all the problems of the Jewish people. Probably Hitler and Haman. Haman comes from him. All the people that have attacked, it's their mission statement to attack the Jewish people. And we're not complete until Amalek is destroyed. We'll see in today's Chumash. So Moshe goes to Joshua and he tells Yeshua, and by the way, this is maybe the first time we see Joshua here because Joshua is Moses' closest student. Joshua will take over Moses' position after Moses passes away. So Moses tells us, Joshua, he says, go and collect. We need to go, like when you need to go to war, you got to get soldiers. You got to get people. So we got to make, what do they call it when they, you go into the country and you're looking for people to come to war. It says, go collect people for war. And go fight against Amalek. Go make a collection. A very important Rashi here. He says to his student here, I love this very important Rashi here. He says the way he talks to his student. So Rashi is going to say here, I guess this is the first time we see how Moses talks to his student. And he wants to teach you how a teacher should talk to his student. He also goes on to say, we also learn from Moses how a colleague should talk to his colleague. He says, go choose, go collect for us, go choose, pick for us men to fight Amalek. He should have said, go choose. What do I mean for us? He basically put his student, who was obviously at a much lower level than Moses, on equal footings to himself. He put Yeshua on equal level to Moshe. Moshe, the holy great Moshe Rabbeinu. How does he talk to his student? He says, go collect for us. And Rashi says a very important message is learned from here, is that the honor and respect that a teacher should give his student should be just as much as he honors himself. It's a very powerful thing. It's maybe a very important lesson. If teachers, in yeshiva, you see this, if the teacher gives his student, usually there's a mitzvah, we know always you got to respect your teacher. But the teacher here tells us has to respect the student as much as he respects himself, which means that the student will love the teacher and then he'll want to learn from the teacher. That's why I think it's such a powerful message. But then he goes in Rashi to tell us, also we learn from Moshe elsewhere, not here. In the fourth book of the Chumash, Moses will tell Aaron, he'll say, my master. He'll call Aaron his master, his leader, his teacher. And from there we learn that two scholars should respect each other so great, like the same way you respect heaven. The same respect should be, the rabbis shouldn't be fighting with each other. Someone just told me a comment today. He said that he doesn't listen to the rabbis anymore. Why? Because the rabbis fight with each other. So he says, that's not the way it's supposed to be. The rabbi should respect the other rabbi. The colleague should respect the other colleague as much as they respect heaven. And the student and the teacher should respect the student as much as he respects himself. That covet, the honor should be as dear. I want to use the correct wording here. Not the honor doesn't mean respect. I'm sorry, I maybe wasn't using a good word here. I want to use the right word. The honor of care about the student's honor just as much as he cares about his own honor. Teacher shouldn't be like, oh, my honor, and not care about the student. No, the honor of the student should be important to the teacher as much as his own honor is important. And it's not saying the student shouldn't honor his teacher. Of course, he should. And the fear and the respect given from one colleague to another should be as much as the fear of heaven. Yeah. And where do we see? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read one more time. Just readjust this so I'm correct. The honor of a student, I said correctly, on their teacher should be, the teacher should honor the student just like himself. A colleague, Aaron and Moses, Aaron and Moshe, he said, he called him my master. So your friend, you should respect. This is powerful actually for your friend. He was older. Aaron was older than Moses. And Aaron told Moses, I'm sorry, Aaron called Moses my master. But Aaron was older than Moses. That teaches you that your friend should be like, you should honor your friend like your teacher. Okay, that's the statement. That means that's a very important thing. That your friend you should learn from your friend. You should give your friend honor as if he's your teacher. And here's the last one. And your teacher should have awe and respect to your teacher, the same like you have for heaven, for Hashem. That's the lesson. So a student like yourself, you should honor. You should honor your friend like you honor a master. And you should honor your teacher as much as you honor heaven. So here we learn the etiquette of Torah in honoring the people who are very precious and dear to us in life. Now, next part. The verse said, go fight Amalek. They were in a very secure place. They were in the clouds. Remember, the cloud was protecting them from the Egyptians. So they could have just stayed in home base and their bunkers in the cloud, i.e. in the cloud, and they could have been saved. But if you go out of the cloud, that's where Amalek could attack you. So Moses tells Aaron, go out of the cloud. Don't stay in here and just be protected by the cloud. Go out and fight these people that are trying to attack us. Okay, continuing in the verse 9. Tomorrow you're going to make this war. Go get the soldiers ready together. Tomorrow you're going to fight them. And tomorrow I'm going to stand up on top of the hill. And what am I going to do? Moses says to Aaron, and I'm going to hold the staff of God in my hands. Now, I think I might have missed a Rashi, where another Rashi tells us that Moses got in trouble. Maybe it'll be soon, because Moses didn't choose the soldiers on his own. Moses should have been more active in collecting the soldiers. He was not supposed to actually give that to his student Yeshua to do. And therefore, that will also be a little bit of a challenge with Moshe. Of course, Moses is everything perfect, but at least Rashi saying here that there's something Moshe should have done it by himself. Okay. Now, what kind of men should he choose? Who should you select for war? They should be mighty people, and they should have fear of heaven, because then their merit will succeed. You know, like I know times in the IDF, sometimes they say who should be in the army. According to this, it should be the yeshiva boys should be in the army, because, or the people that are more God-fearing, that are more studious, and so on, should be the ones in the army. That's one interpretation. Rashi gives another interpretation. Who are the people that Yeshua should select? They should be people that know how to stop witchcraft, because the Amalekites were heavy witchcrafts, and the selection that Yeshua had to choose would be to find out who knows how to be protected and to stop witchcraft, and they wouldn't be affected by the attack of the Amalekites. Interesting. Verse 10. Vayas Yeshua, and Yeshua did, Kasher Amalek Moshe, exactly like his teacher Moses said, Lachem ba'Amalek, to fight against Amalek. Moshe, Aaron, V'chur, and who was on the mountain? Moses and his brother Aaron. We all know. There's a third person who we don't know. His name is Hur. Who was this guy? Hur actually tells us. Hur was the son of Miriam. So Moses and Aaron were two brothers. They had a sister called Miriam. Miriam had a child called Hur. Hur is the nephew of Moshe, is his sister's son. The three of them go up to the mountain, on top of this mountain, in order to pray, as Moses said he's going to pray. Why did they need three people? And Rashi tells us, from here we learn that whenever you're in a fast and you're praying to Hashem, it shouldn't be just a chaz and go up himself, but they have to have three people are required to go to the front and lead the services on a special fast that's designated. And what happened? Whenever Moses raised his hand on the mountain, the Jews would win the war against the Amalekites. When Moses put down his hands, the Amalekites were winning against the Jewish people. So Rashi says What? How does that work? What are the hands of Moses? This kind of magic thing that when he lifts his hands, they win a war. When he puts his hands down, they lose the war. What's going on over here? So Rashi says, he brings from the Gemara, he says the Talmud explains, the Talmud over there says that it wasn't that Moses' hands were these magical things that they won war. It's when the Jews looked up to their Father in heaven, then the war, they saw Moses' hands were raised and they lifted their eyes at their Father in heaven. That's when they won the war. And when their hands came down, that is when they lost the war. However, it's very hard. Rashi tells us his hands were lifted up in prayers, 2 hands up high. How could you lift your hands for so long during the whole war? In verse 12, Moses' hands got heavy. And Rashi says this was a punishment for him because he was lazy. I don't want to say the word lazy. He was lax in performing the commandment of the war against Amalek. He should have, he put up Yeshua to lead the army. He should have done it himself. So as kind of a punishment for the level of lax of Moshe, what was expected of him, on his level, he should have himself got the soldiers. So therefore Hashem made that his hands should become heavy. It shouldn't be easy for him to hold his hands as long as the war was going on. So they gave him a stone, and they put it under him. Who Aaron and Hur, the 2 people helping Moses, put the stone there. And he sat on the stone instead of standing. And he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur, the 2 other people there, Tamchu b'yadav, held his hands up, helped him hold his hands up. Mizachad, one of them from each side of Moses. Yadav Amunah, and his hands were kept like that, with full of faith. Adbay Hashemish, until the sun came down. He kept his hand up with hands up in that one place. Why did he sit on a stone, not on a cushion? He says, "What am I going to sit on a cushion when the Jewish people are fighting in pain?" He sat on a stone, and he held his hands up in a faithful way, meaning like I guess in prayer, you hold your 2 hands up high up to the 2 sides. That's the way you pray to Hashem. And he kept his hand until the sunset. And Rashi says there's something here about the sunset that the Amalekites knew in astrology to determine like the hour they would be victorious. And by Moses holding his hands up, Moses was able to stop with the solar system, cause the sun to stand still and confusion, and somehow protect the Jews. They shouldn't be affected from this kind of witchcraft that the Amalekites knew. Verse 13, and Yeshua weakened the Amalekites, and his nation with the swords, and they did a good job on the Amalekites. They cut up and killed all the strong Amalekites, the dangerous ones, the powerful ones, and he only left the weak ones and didn't kill the weak ones. From here we see that he followed that God told them specifically who should be killed and who not, that not all of them should be killed, to leave some of them over. Hashem el Moshe. God says Moshe, Zoy Zikarim b'Sefer v'Sim ba'ozni Yeshua. He says, write this as a memorial in the book. V'Sim ba'ozni Yeshua, and put it in the ears of Yeshua. Kimacha emcha. This is what I want you to write in, I guess, in the Torah. I want you to write this in the Torah. God's telling Moshe. And put it in the ears of Yeshua. What I want to tell you, I will surely obliterate the remembrance of Amalek. I'm going to wipe them out. From under the heavens. It's very important to destroy this nation. Why? So Rashi says they had the chutzpah to be the first people to attack the Jews. After splitting of the sea and the 10 plagues, the whole world was shaking. And these people have the nerve to attack the Jewish people. They're dangerous and not good people. All anti-Semites will come out and try to hurt the Jewish people from them. We must get rid of them. And put it in the ears of Yeshua. Let Yeshua know this, because Yeshua will be the ones who will bring the Jews in, right? Kind of letting Moses already here know he's not going to enter Israel. Even before Moses, by the way, will hit the rock later on. Already here you see Hashem telling Moses, destiny is you're not going to go in. Because I'm warning you, because you have to fight the Amalekites and destroy them and get rid of them. So Moses almost done 2 more verses. Moses built an altar, and he called the altar in that place Hashem Nisi, that God is my miracle, because the miracle happened in that place. Whoever sees that altar will remember that Hashem, the great miracle that Hashem caused for the Jews and protected them from the first war against the Jewish people. They come as slaves just a little bit over a month later. And they were attacked, and a great miracle happened by the second war, because the Egyptians attacked them. But besides the Egyptians, the Amalekites now attacked them too, and they ended up winning the war through a miracle from Hashem. And he said, Ki yad al keiska. We're almost done with the Chumash. For this is the hand on the throne of the eternal. Meaning, what do you mean God's hand is on his throne? Meaning that there's a miracle. A promise, a swear. Hashem from God, Ba'amalek midar dar, from every generation. Hashem wants us to wipe out Amalek, and it says case, which means kisei in Hebrew. It's short for throne. Why does it say missing the aleph in kisei case? Because Hashem's throne is not complete as long as the nation of Amalek is out there. And these are the anti-Semites who always will forever try to hurt and destroy the Jewish people. As long as they're around, Hashem's name will not be filled, is not complete until these people are we've gotten rid of these people. And that is the end, my friend, of today's Chumash. Any questions or comments on the fascinating Chumash today? Yes, we have David Jarashah with us. Beautiful. David, please kick us off.
Hi. Okay, so, the business about Moshe not picking the army, I think I remember us touching on this. This is like a year ago, but, and I think I talked about this, like it's like a personal services contract. Like he's the big macher, why should he delegate that? It's not something, it's a very important task. Why did he delegate it? But, as a teacher, he's like handing off the reins too. So it's like a delicate thing. He's using his judgment, but it was off. But Hashem seems like Moshe's held to a much higher standard. So,
but the punishment was just that his hands became heavy. I guess you're asking a good question. I don't know. Rashi is addressing why did Moses' hands become heavy, right? Which is weird. Right. It's like, why did Hashem make that happen? So Rashi's telling us an interesting answer. He's saying, look, because Moses should not have delegated the job to Yeshua, he should have done it himself. And be quiet because it's so precious, it's so important. He should have ran and done it himself. And as a lesson to him, maybe as a leader, Hashem is teaching him how to be a leader. It's that something at this level of importance you should be doing. You shouldn't be delegating it to Yeshua. But you're asking why. You're saying, what's wrong with delegating? Delegating would be a good thing.
Well, and then we just talked about being a teacher and that a teacher should.
Maybe this is why later on, when Yisro, it's just interesting what you're saying. Yisro later on tells his father-in-law Moshe to have rabbis under him, right, in order to help him answer questions. Moses is like, what? I don't know what to do. God told me last time I delegated to Yeshua, I got in trouble for it. How is it a right thing? I don't know. It's a good question, David. I'm not sure. What's wrong with delegating? Delegating is a good thing, right? If you can't delegate.
Well, I'm saying delegating to Yoshua, who's going to be the next leader, that should be a good thing. Was it too soon? Was he relying on him too early? It's a judgment call. So, why was, I understand the punishment wasn't so severe, but still that Moshe was punished.
Your question is not about punish. Your question is what's wrong with delegating?
What's wrong with delegating, number one? And I understand about that the soldiers should have been, that learned was more important than other factors.
It's not more, it's just, maybe it's one of the factors is that it's also merit. You need to have merit to succeed. And one of the criteria is like, if you would go to the IDF and this was the criteria, right, it would basically say, we don't want a sinner, someone who's like a sinner in our group, because you need to also have merit, not just physical prowess, but you need to also have merit.
Right. Just one final comment, and that is that we talked about part of the reason why Moshe wasn't destined to go into Eretz Yisrael was they knew that there was going to be war, and he wasn't equipped to be the wartime leader. So if he wasn't equipped to be the wartime leader, then why was he held to such a high standard in picking out the soldiers?
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know if that's why he didn't get to go into Israel.
Well, that was something that, I don't know if you said it, but somebody commented that Moshe wasn't destined to lead Am Yisrael into the land of Israel because he wasn't the right guy for that job. He wasn't a military leader.
Maybe he was too powerful.
Okay.
I'm saying like your question's based on a saying that's the reason, but I don't know that that's the reason. So I like your question specifically. I want to look into. Are you on the WhatsApp group? We have a WhatsApp group. I started.
Yeah.
We have the Chumash WhatsApp group. I responded to other questions there, so I'm going to see if I can find a quick, easy answer. It's a great question. After we're done class, I'm going to look quickly. I'll post it on the WhatsApp group if I do find any information about that. It's a great question.
Okay. Very good.
Awesome. Very good. Anybody else? Any questions or comments on today's lesson besides David's great? Thank you, David, for participating. Anybody else have anything to participate? No? If not, we will move on to today's Tanya. We'll leave it over here. I know it's very long today, but today was very big Chumash parts. And also, it was 2 days.